when I'm getting to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. We're going to jump right in because I got a very special guest for you guys. I'm going to bring her up in a couple of minutes, but you know what we got to do. It's Monday. We are going to do This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT. We're doing a drive-in lane today, you guys, and I purposefully picked this one with the storm that they're having up in the Northeast right now, because I want you guys to pay attention to this stuff. This is like a real-time weather event that you guys can track and then see how that affects pricing here over the next couple of weeks. So this one, drive in, we got Indianapolis, Indiana, going to Philadelphia, PA. And obviously, you guys, freight going into the Northeast right now. Expect delays. Please, no driver's life is worth any shipment. I always want to put that in there. But here is the look at this right now. If we're looking at this overall, we're going back to January, and there's the dual spikes in January. And it looks, when you're looking at the graph here, it looks a lot greater than it is. But I mean, this was essentially at $2,000 last January, and it was at almost, $2,100 this January. So we are starting to see a spike in this. On this lane in particular, it's going to be interesting to see where February's numbers come in for Indianapolis going into Philadelphia. But again, these things are, when you're looking at this, again, I always want you guys to pay attention to the miles, okay? 650 miles. That's next day transit. So I would err on the side of caution if you guys are going into a Friday to Monday bid that's going on out there. Because, again, unless you're getting somebody who is heading back home out there, you will always see a natural spike during those days of the week, because, again, people want miles over the weekends. But I want you to pay attention to this one with that weather event that's going on out there. But this is like the epitome of a power lane as well. Okay. So like there's a ton of competition that's going on out there. And if you are the one who submitted this one to us, again, email it podcast@thefreightcoach.com. We'll break it down for you guys. I do not see this lane spiking up anytime soon. Even if, let's go with all of the predictions about, mass capacity leaving the industry and all of this stuff that you see out there. This is like, as I've always talked about, this is like the last lane that will change, okay? Because big city to big city, these are power lanes. These don't see that much of a drop or a spike or a drop in pricing that is that drastic. This is like the epitome of stability. And if you look at this last 12 months, it pretty much followed on par what is going to happen out there. And again, even with all of the volatility that people are talking about in the market right now, I don't think it's going to be as bad as some people are predicting, but this is the epitome of stability. And I want you guys to pay attention to this one with the weather event. And then again, if we do the inverse rate that comes along, like look at how much that drops. Okay. So if you're newer into this, you guys, like freight going out east is always more expensive. Freight coming out of the East Coast, coming back to the Midwest is generally cheaper. Okay. I'm not going to ever tell you guys this is what I would do to quote on this, because I want you guys to make as much money as humanly possible out there, because I am a capitalist. But this, throughout the entirety of my career, freight coming out of Pennsylvania going to the Midwest has been historically low. And this goes to say that. Like, it looks like a drastic jump on this chart right now. But I think this is going to be one of those that is going to drop down. But again, this is one of those markets where weather event that's happening. These are good indicators for you guys to pay attention to as you're going out there and trying to read this stuff, because no matter what, it is our job to find stability for our customers. So if you are moving Indy to Philly, I think you're going to be just fine. Outside of if your freight's picking up right now, probably going to have a rate increase that's coming along with this for the next couple of days. I know the storm's about done out east, but there's going to be a few day weather effect. And then again, the surrounding freight markets, you guys pay attention to that stuff. That will inevitably cause delays coming out of that. So this one, Indianapolis to Philly, the epitome of stability in my eyes. And again, watch that for the weather event. But that is it for this week in freight for D8, powered by my friends at DAT for the dry van lane breakdown out there, you guys. And again, if you want your lane broken down, email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. We will break it down live on the show. But speaking of jumping in and like teaching people how to do jobs that actually do the job and everything else and eliminating theory, which is like my favorite topic, I am going to break that down today with my good friend, Jennifer with the TMSA back on the show. Jennifer, what's going on? Good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too. And as a Cleveland, Ohioer, I am ready for the snow to be done. But that was a very good breakdown. Yeah, we got hit with the snow, but my kid is at school, which I was like, if you know how many snow days we've had, that's really a good indicator, because I think they're now in the position where they don't want to have to extend school further in June, because there's been so many days they've been off. It took about, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe was the first time he was in school for the entire week since like before Christmas. It was nuts. Lots of wild. Yeah.
So what's going on with you guys at the TMSA? When you reached out to me I was so excited when you sent me that email, Jennifer, like, hey, this would be, I'm like, yes, this is actually the entire premise of my show is real people who actually do the work, teaching people about said work that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So what is this announcement? What is this thing that you guys are doing now?
Absolutely. So TMSA has been around in the industry for over 100 years. And with that legacy also comes the responsibility to grow, change, and evolve with the industry. And one of the things that I really had been looking at for the past year was listening to our members and our conference attendees and what they needed from a professional development organization like TMSA. And so we would have like marketing leaders would come and they would be like, oh, we need something higher level. We need, trend setting. We need to know what's coming next. And then marketing practitioners would come and be like, well, we need to know like the tools, techniques that's going to make our jobs more efficient. And same on the sales side, leaders needed something different than practitioners. And so we would have like breakout sessions. Like when you came to speak, you were like a sales breakout, but that leader track needs to be different than that practitioner track. And then we have a huge amount of like company leadership coming to TMSA as well. And so from an educational standpoint, people needed something different. And then from a networking, engagement, relationship building standpoint, they need something different too. They like the opportunity to come to TMSA and be able to network between all of those groups, but they wanted to be able to have a space where they were connecting with people who were in that same trench as they were in, that they are dealing with the same issues. So what we've decided to do is move forward with a track-based program. So there'll be 5 tracks to start: company leader, sales practitioner, marketing leader, and marketing practitioner. And so if you come to Elevate June 7th through 9th in Denver this year, you'll pick a track, and that's kind of the cohort you'll travel through with at Elevate. Each track has its own networking time, its own workshop, its own breakout session. Breakfast tables will have like those tracks and each things. We have a great trivia showdown. You'll be competing with teams of people inside your track, just really ways to engage more. And then, of course, if you're a person that wanted to come to TMSA to network with the other tracks, you still have those opportunities too. We still have the main bigger networking sessions, the main stage sessions like the economy panel, the shipper panel that is applicable to everybody. But it's just a way to really maximize your membership and your conference attendee to be able to get exactly what you need. Like everyone is doing more with less time. So how can we help them get the information that they need faster to do their job quicker and more efficiently?
I personally love this approach because, for me and my personality type, I don't like theory. Okay. Like I pay attention to it. I read it, but like I resonate more with the individuals who do the work. Right. And again, that's not saying that anybody has bad ideas out there. It just is me because the way that my brain is wired, Jennifer, is if it works so well, why aren't you out there doing it?
Yes.
And that's what always drove me up the wall about college, because like I learned from these instructors who like never did the work they were teaching about. And again, I'm not saying any of the information that some of these professors put out there is bad. It just doesn't resonate with me, because like for me personally, I'm like, I want to learn from the people who do the job, right? Like I put out a post about this probably like a month ago, why I love listening to guys like Tom Brady, Troy Aikman, and Tony Romo announce football games, because they did the work. Like they are so much more detailed. They can break down stuff so much more than any of the announcers. And that goes to even to the individuals who have been announcing for a long time, but never played in the NFL. And I see that from like a content perspective as well out there. And this isn't just a transportation thing. This is kind of like content as a whole. It's really easy to hide behind a facade about what you're doing out there. And again, I don't want to knock anybody's hustle, but I'm also from the mindset of like, go build it first and then talk about it. Because if you do that, I think even if you go out and like create a course, because that's still hot for some reason out there, you're going to be able to charge way more money if you're like, hey, I built this company, I exited, it's all verifiable. Now you can justify that. So it's like, for me, when I see you guys taking this approach, like, no, we need people who are actually in the trenches doing this work. We want you to talk to other people, network with learning tracks with other people who are out there. I think that is going to build a greater like ROI from people coming to the show.
Yeah. So two things. Number one, so last year, to your point, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of theory. And so when I was thinking about doing like a freight fraud session at last year's Elevate, I love going to other conferences, and there was panel after panel after panel on freight fraud. And again, not to knock that, but I was like, I want to know what a company's actually doing. Like, I don't want 4 people talking about that it's bad, this is what we could be doing. I want a company to come. So I approached Circle Logistics, and that's exactly what they did. They came on stage, they used a case study, they came with Cassandra Gaines too, and she gave like a legal perspective on it. And I was like, what are you actually doing? How is your sales team using it as a differential? How can marketing teams use it in their messaging to talk about it? Like, freight fraud is bad, we know that, but what are you actually doing? And that was the approach that we take. And so that is what we try to do on that main stage. We take these big topics that are going on in the industry, but then make it applicable for sales and marketing people and what they're actually doing. And then 2, this year's keynote, I'm really excited about. We'll announce the finalists soon, if you will, but I wanted to do a technology showcase, kind of a showdown. It's a competition where 4 people in the industry are competing to show their tech and what it actually did. Like, to your point, like, don't just talk about it until, if you cannot prove that you did it, that it's not an actual use case, that you don't have statistics behind it, and you're not the person that's allowed to talk about it, you weren't allowed to submit. Like, our application was like, you are able to do this. This actually happened. This isn't just what you can do, it's what you've done. And it will be 4 different people on stage. They get 8 to 10 minutes. It's our opening keynote. The audience will vote live on who that winner is, and they get the Tech Mic Drop Award for the year from TMSA. Because I was like, there's so much technology out there. Like, going to Manifest a couple weeks ago, I tried to walk down one aisle that didn't say AI. Couldn't. But what is it actually doing? How can we actually use it? Like, what does it actually mean? And so we didn't want, because I had people that are like, oh, is this just like sponsors are going up there and talking about their product? No, they're not. They have to be selected. And like right now, like my executive board, members of my education committee, they're picking who they think should go on that stage. Like, that is our process right now. We got the submissions in, they was due last Friday. Now we're voting. And then those finalists will be announced in the upcoming weeks. And then they have to compete to show what they can actually do.
I'm just going to start calling it Freight Coach AI, because I feel like that just brings like like a more SEO score and everything. I just think it'll work overall. But no, I like, from that approach, Jennifer, like, that was, so for like the last 6 months, I have been, like, I've known DAT for a very long time, really good friends with them over there. And to your point, I'm like, okay, I get it. The market, I get it. What are you going to do about it? Because that's a whole other thing. And that's where it's like, everybody was talking about fraud. And again, there's a lot of great products. There's a lot of great companies out there, but what are you going to do? And when I was, working with DAT and kind of coming together on an agreement, like, hey, how are we going to take this partnership? But like, how are we going to do something that's never been done before in all of content in transportation? Because like, I don't follow trends, I set them. That's just been my thing the whole time. And I was like, let's do a market breakdown. But instead of saying the sky is falling, let's show people how to actually read a freight market, because they all kind of perform the same. Even in volatile markets, they all kind of perform the same. So how do you take all of this data that's out there and then bring that to a shipper and actually win business with it? Because it's easy to say tender rejections are this, capacity is doing that. And okay, like I put all my chips on the table when I started my companies. All right. Like there is no plan B there. Like I have to find a way to win. And that's the entire premise of this show. That's the entire premise of the content that I release is we got to find a way to win. If you want to take one adverse event in the market and fold up and quit, be my guest. But for the people who want to win, the people who want to continue to earn business, perform at a high level, we're just going to teach you how to do it. And I'm just going to show you guys how I'm doing it as I build my company up, right? Like nothing that I talk about on here is theory. Like I got a real business behind the scenes. I'm moving real freight. I got real customers. I'm literally flying out east tomorrow to go visit one of my largest shippers that we're working with, right? So it's like nothing that we're doing is theory. And that's why it's like I resonate so much and I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, because it's not one panel. Like it seems like it's the premise of what you guys are doing now is like, hey, no, we're done. Like we're getting real people in that are doing this. And I love it.
Yeah. And that's for me taking over TMSA. I knew I had never sold freight or never worked for a transportation company. So I worked for software companies that sold to those people. So I understood the premise of everything. But that's why we have such a great community at TMSA. That's why we have an education committee. That's why I don't vote for the speakers that go get picked. I have nothing, well, I should say I have nothing to do with it. Obviously, like I know what's going on. I see the submissions, but I rely on the people that are in those seats to be like, this is what's resonating with me. This is what I care about today. This is what I need to be here for. The things that I like focus on is like doing the keynote, or we have a local angle that comes. We're actually having New Belgium Brewery come this year, and they're talking about when their Asheville plant during the hurricane went under and how their network really helped them still be successful in that. So I focus on that stuff. But in terms of finding the people in the industry that can deliver the best messages and the best content, because they're the ones that are living, breathing it every day, that's what our education committee is for. That's what our board of directors is for, is to help navigate that. And my job is to create the structure to bring the best people inside of that. So I'm really excited for what comes next, because I do think TMSA has always represented that like education meets networking environment, but now we're taking it a step further to make it even more customizable for you and for what you're doing in your job to get that information faster. Like one of my goals would be like, okay, we have this economy panel. We have 3 economists come. Well, after conference, I want to send out an email to each of those tracks to be like, hey, these are the 3 things that you should have listened to there for your job. Like not like the 3 overall things that's most important to the industry. This is what's most important for you, because that way they can take that information and run with it and actually be able to do it faster. They'll be able to access our content faster and easier. And that's kind of what our goal is this year, is to create that infrastructure to get our members to select their tracks. All new members, all new conference attendees, they have to pick a track, so that's easy. And then we're doing it as a primary track and a parallel track. So you pick the one that makes the most sense for you today. You're not locked into that forever. As you grow in your career, you can change. Or if you're like a VP of sales and marketing, you can pick a primary and a parallel track so that you can then go back and forth between the two. So that way you're getting that information for both parts of your job.
Now, I think that, I've been to a lot of conferences over, well, I mean, we'll just go the last 6 years, okay? Because this is pretty much when I, became self-employed and went out there. And I think that, again, there's a lot of information that's out there, but like as a business owner, I'm like, where's the ROI, right? Because when we're talking flights, hotels, meals, everything, like, again, I bootstrap everything. All right. So it's $dollar out. If I'm going to spend $3,000 to go to a conference, I need to get like 30 grand worth of value in there, right? Like I got to 10X that stuff, because it's like, otherwise that $3,000 that it could take, like that's a portion of my P&L, right? Every single that I'm looking at. And I think that it's the interactive approach is, I think, almost going to be like the standard moving forward, because I know we want to sit here and hope and dream that everything's going to be great and the sunshine and the gumdrops are going to come back. But like, I also live in reality, and I'm like, all right, well, what if it doesn't? Okay, like how do I keep my P&L in check? How do I, reduce my overhead in any way? Because like I got to stay in business. And I think you're probably going to start seeing this approach kind of take off in mass, because I mean, again, if you're going to send 5 people to an event, is that 20 grand? Again, is that the best way to spend 20 grand? I think a lot of people are going to be taking that as and as people are, talking about automation, you're seeing layoffs that are happening out there. So it's like, I think you guys are really getting ahead of this in the right way. And that's just the way that I think industry events and maybe conferences as a whole that's going to be the expectation moving forward.
Well, I appreciate that. It definitely took a lot of thought and strategic planning to be able to execute it. Like and we had like, okay, we have some like HR people that are coming into TMSA now, or we see like customer experience. Like, do we create tracks for them? Well, not quite yet. We have content for them, but we don't have enough for a whole track or enough people to fill the whole track, so they can go into the other tracks to get some of that. And then for HR, we do have a separate networking for them. But I was really thinking through, how can we best meet the needs? And like you said, if you're sending multiple people, they should have a different experience, and that should be customized to what they need. And so we didn't want to create something that was just like, okay, you can send 5 people, they're all getting the same experience, so then why are you sending 5 people? We want to make sure that they're getting what they need. And same with the membership throughout. Like, there'll be different networking engagements virtually for the different tracks. We'll have, we're doing like a virtual accelerator programs for tracks later on in the year and into next year. And so we're being thoughtful how we build. Like, we're a very small headquarter team, so also to execute it, we want to make sure that we can stand by and execute everything that we're doing. But I do think it's really important, and it's been funny. Obviously, the market has been tough for a couple of years. We all know that. And people be like, well, do you know? I'm like, yeah, I run an organization geared towards professional development for marketing and salespeople. Like, every budget that's been cut is the budgets that I live in. So creating that ROI, getting more value for our membership and for our conference attendees is extremely important to me and everything that we stand by at TMSA, because that's literally, you have to create that for the people attending so that they can go back and start right away and be able to prove that. One thing that we've done is I actually have a Convince Your Boss toolkit on our website, and it does that breakdown of like, this is how much money you can actually expect to spend coming, and some of the reasons why you should come and talk. And then I started ending show a couple years ago with an ROI session. So like, who are 3 to 5 people you've met that are changing the game for you? How did you connect with them? Are you already LinkedIn contacts with them? Do you have like accountability sessions with them moving forward? If you haven't reached out to them, do it right now, like in your seat. What are 3 things that you learned that you can implement right away that you think would help you? Turn to your neighbor and pitch it like that's your boss. Like, that is how we spend the end of conference, because we don't want you to go back to the office the next day, open your email, and forget everything that you just did. And so now with the tracks, like, that'll be hit even harder, because you'll have even more like individualized things that you can pick up and take with you.
I didn't know you did an ROI calculator like that. That's fantastic. Because, and again, what you said about if you have 5 people coming, you want 5 different experiences geared towards they do. I was thinking about all of the events that I've been to, and I'm like, how many times has companies sent 5, 10, maybe 15 people? They all had the exact same takeaway, because it was all the same sessions for everybody, and it was more of a generalist thing. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, I could only imagine how many C-suites are going to be listening to this, Jennifer, and be like, oh, okay, let's talk about this one a little bit more. Where is the ROI? Because I think we're we're at a point where, like content, for example, you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to build anything anymore. You literally, the best performing content that's out there is like shot on an iPhone, and it's just stuff like that. So it's like, all right, that like doing more with less, I think is going to come along with it. And that is, again, if people want to talk about AI, that's what AI's main message is coming in, is how do we do more with less? And I think tying all of that in, but again, how do each individual departments utilize a specific tool to actually capture the corporate goals when it comes to sales and marketing, right? Because to me, it's sales is not a one avenue game anymore. All right. It's not just cold call. Like, you need to be able to effectively cold call, email, DM, create content, site visits. Like, you have to be like a 5 to 6 prong approach to even get on people's radars, because the more sales tools that are available, the more how do we block sales reps from getting to our people tools are available as well. So it's like, you have to be creative out there. And I honestly think we're going to go, I'm going to call it the Stone Ages. It's going to revert back to the Stone Ages, where the expectation is can you knock on a business's door, drop off a business card, and introduce yourself? I think that is going to be the biggest business development flex coming up here, probably, I would say between the next 3 to 5 years, is are you going to be able to walk out in public, knock on somebody's door, and introduce yourself in person? Because I think that is what it's going to get to, of how do I even know you're a real person?
I mean, definitely. I mean, the way that we're engaging with AI and what the agents and things can do now is kind of crazy. And just that, to me, technology and AI should make life more efficient and easier, so your humans can have more empathy and do the human things. And so, to your point, like, nothing is more human than having a real conversation with a real person and be able to address that head on. And that's a soft skill that not everyone has. And that is part of what we should be training for, is to listen to cues in people's voices and understand if they're happy or sad or mad or upset, or know what their expectations are. And so I do think that type of training and that type of development is really important. And I do think that's been the hardest part about all of the budget cuts in these departments, is that we're then not training our humans to do the humans things. We may only be focusing on adding those tools in so that they can be more efficient, but cutting out the human piece, which is a challenge in itself.
Yeah. And I think that you're just going to see, I think you're going to see a lot of companies kind of push towards that, right? Because it's no matter what, I personally view my team as an investment. They are part of it. It's not an expense. I can't speak for everybody, right? And I would only assume there are going to be companies out there who are how do we automate this person's role? How do we reduce our headcount? How do we increase our profitability? And again, I understand, how things work out there, but I personally don't want to do that. I personally want, as to the best of my abilities, how do I build and implement technology to where it's I only hire 5 people because I need them, not hire 20 with the expectation that 5 are going to make it. And I think that is a way that you can build a team that is kind of going to change the trajectory of how teams have been built in the past, right? Because it's how many times do you see a company mass hire and then mass fire a bunch of people after 60 or 90 days?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that investment piece is huge. Figuring out yes, use your tools to figure out the amount of people that you actually need to be successful. Then hire for those people and train them. I feel like that's what that model should look like. And then not just onboard them, but consistently invest in them to train them. Employees want to understand their piece of the puzzle, how it fits overall, and how they can grow in your business. And that piece needs to continue on and continue to be successful. And they want to see their path forward. And if you focus on that, then you'll be able to use the tech and use the people and build your business successfully.
I love it. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. How does anybody reach out to you to find out more? How do they register for Elevate? All of that stuff, put that stuff out there.
Absolutely. You can reach me at jennifer@tmsatoday.org or on LinkedIn. And you can learn about Elevate and register at events.tmsatoday.org.
Perfect. Jennifer, thank you so much. If you guys can't find Jennifer or the TMSA out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, Subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the bag. Ayy, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane